الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. So today inshallah we'll be continuing discussing the book Al-Arba'in An-Nawawiyah, and in the last lesson that we had, we started discussing Hadith As-Sadis wal-Ishrun. So we're at Hadith, the 26th Hadith in this series that have been put together by Nawawi rahimahullah. So we started the discussion, in continuing, so this will be the second session in discussing this particular Hadith. In the previous session, that what we had done, that we have read the Hadith. So the Hadith was read both in Arabic and in English. Then also we as for the narrator, Abu Hurairah anhu, we did not mention much about him as he has been spoken or discussed before in previous lessons. Then also we went third in discussing concerning Takhrij of Hadith, where the author rahimahullah, he mentioned Rawahu Bukhari Muslim, that Hadith is collected by both Imam Bukhari, but Bukhari and also Imam Muslim rahimahullah in their Sahihain. Then also we discussed in discussing regarding concerning and make also other addition to what have been mentioned regarding those sources. Then also we discussed matters regarding that some of the efforts of the ulama in al-jam, combining between Bukhari and Muslim. So therefore those efforts regarding combining between Bukhari and Muslim, so those are the things that we had mentioned in the previous lesson. So today inshallah we'll be picking up by first we just kind of we'll read over the hadith and then go into the explanation.
Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. Hadith number 26, the virtues of mending ties, justice and assistance amongst one another. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم كل سلام من الناس عليه صدقة كل يوم تطلع فيه الشمس تعدل بين اثنين صدقة وتعين الرجل في دبته فتحمله عليها أو ترفع له عليها متاعه صدقة والكلمة الطيبة صدقة وبكل خطوة تمشيها إلى الصلاة صدقة وتميت الأذى عن الطريق صدقة. On the authority of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, who said, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, every joint of a person must do a charity every day that the sun rises. Acting justly between two people is a charity. Assisting a man onto his mount or hoisting his belongings onto it is a charity. A good word is a charity. Every step you take to perform the prayer is a charity, and removing harmful objects from the roadway is a charity. Related by Bukhari and Muslim.
So that's the hadith that to be discussed. So as we mentioned that hadith, we started discussing this hadith in the last session that we had. So in continuing from that we'll now start regarding what is discussed regarding one, the mawdu. So as for the mawdu of the top, this hadith will be the topic of the hadith. So what's the topic of this hadith? Based upon what is mentioned in the translation that they cited regarding the topic of the hadith, what they mentioned there of the topic, he mentioned few things. Mending ties,
the virtue of mending ties, justice and assistance amongst one another.
So I mentioned like three main topics regarding this particular hadith. So I mentioned that those things that I mentioned is mainly from those who have worked on the book, that they will kind of somewhat try to put a topic for each of the hadith, but that's not from Nawawi rahimahullah. So that is not from Nawawi rahimahullah. So you might find that so the book have many prints, by the book of Al-Arba'in An-Nawawiyah of many prints and many of the mashaykh wa talabat al-ilm have worked on this book. So each might put a different sub-heading or title to each hadith. So with this one, you might find that they discuss is regarding concerning that what is the more appropriate heading for this. Of those who mention regarding concerning the heading for this particular hadith, that they mention is hadith kullu ma'rufin sadaqa, that all forms of ma'ruf, so different ways of doing of good, is all considered, it constitutes a form of sadaqah, something, the one doing something of good and rewarded for this. Then start to list those different ways in which a person can perform sadaqah or things of goodness. So in discussing this hadith, So as we mentioned, that is open regarding concerning the subtitles for these hadith. It is left for the person who are that have been done by mainly those who have done some work around this book Al-Arba'in, not per se by Nawawi rahimahullah. Then he mentioned regarding concerning hadith, he mentioned the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned kullu sulama min al-nas alayhi sadaqa kulli yawm tatla'u fihi ash-shams. So that's concerning that the opening of this particular hadith. So the hadith kind of somewhat it breaks into several different topics that will be covered. So as the opening discussion I mentioned, kullu sulama min al-nas. So I mentioned that all the limbs of the person of mankind alayhi sadaqa, upon him is sadaqa. Then I mentioned kullu yawm tatlahu fihi ash-shams, which is on a daily basis. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, when I mentioned that this hadith he mentioned regarding there's a narration in Sahih Muslim rahimahullah ta'ala that he mentioned that as for these sulama, these limbs, the body limbs or joints of the body, that they are over, they mentioned that kullu sulama, that these joints of the body that is being discussed, they are over 360, that they're over 360. So the limbs, the joints of the body, that it is divided up into over, as some narration of the hadith in Sahih Muslim mentioned, that they're over 360. So all of those joints of the body, that it is for them to offer, to carry out something of good. They mentioned regarding concerns of this hadith, they mentioned kullu sulama min an-nas. So what is intended by an-nas? Who's intended by an-nas? So they mentioned an-nas, which is mankind, Bani Adam. So it is Bani Adam in general, Muslim and non-Muslim, or an-nas who's intended is actually the Muslim. So at times it could based upon, it have this ihtimal, it has the possibility that what is intended is an-nas, mankind in general, or it could intend, even the word an-nas, generally to be mankind, but at times could have a meaning regarding the Muslim in particular. Clear? So I'm saying no, it could go in the line of the second, meaning that what is intended by an-nas, the ones who are being addressed are the Muslim, based upon, if we were to read to the hadith mentioned, that I mentioned, بِكُلِّ خُطْوَةٍ تَمْشِيهَا إِلَى الْمَسْجِدِ إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ. That's addressed only to the Muslim. So of what is mentioned regarding these deeds that can be done, that of them is those deeds that are general, but also of which it can be done, performed by Muslim and non-Muslim. And of those deeds, it is more targeted towards Muslim regarding al-mashi ila salah, one walking to the salah. So an-nas, so in different texts, so you go by way of the siyak, by way of the structure, or what is the topic of the sentence and what's being discussed as to what is actually intended by an-nas. So look at the other sentences in the hadith. It may incline towards an-nas, Muslim in particular, not mankind in general, based upon of some of the things that are mentioned as those good deeds to be performed, that are only these expected from a Muslim, not from the non-Muslim. Or the person who is rewarded for these are those who are Muslim, not the non-Muslim. So they mentioned, as we had discussed before in the previous hadith, the word sadaqah. That word sadaqah also can have different meanings. It could mean thawab, the word as-sadaqah, charity. The word sadaqah also can mean concerning al-hasana. So the person carrying out good deeds, al-ma'ruf, al-hasana, then this is sadaqah. This is the person, sadaqah by the person involvement in doing of righteous deeds. So from the hadith it mentioned regarding that, that the person, he has the ability and his limbs are there to perform righteous deeds each day that the sun rises, or for each day. Abdullah mentioned concerning that al-yawm, that some mentioned the word al-yawm also can have various meaning depending on the context. So at times the word yawm could mean, said, a day. Yawm, so said day and a night, a full day, 24 hours. At times the word al-yawm could mean that just zaman. It could be some days, or it could be one day or less. So it could have a general meaning, the word al-yawm. So the word yawm at times may mean more than just a day. It could mean several days. So the word yawm, and also it could mean just a fraction of the day, a portion of the day, not the full day, which means concerned you have day and night. So the word yawm could mean day, wa nahar, day and night. So also it could take those meanings, so depending on the context regarding what is intended. So it mentioned the hadith shows regarding that a person performing an encouragement for the person to be involved in performing good deeds on a daily basis. The Muslim, regarding how we approach things, regarding for each day, as they would say, is a new day, where the person have the ability to do things pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So each day Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives his servant another day, then that's also another opportunity for the servant to be in the person try to do acts that will get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So for the Muslim, so not as for what I've passed, the day that I've passed, that's gone. Now the person look what is ahead and to see how he can either out to improve, to better, or to increase his good deeds. So each day he sees as a new day as to how to improve and to better himself compared to the day that I've passed. Then I mentioned regarding concerning that. So it shows regarding that that hadith. It shows regarding all the limbs of the human being that it is capable of performing righteous deeds and involved in doing things of good. Then the Prophet ﷺ then started to outline some of those things that are said to be things of ma'ruf, things that are good deeds and good actions. So Ibn Sayyid rahimahullah, he mentioned regarding if the person wants to like to calculate by way of if there's 360 limbs, all involved in doing of good. If one person was to multiply this on a weekly basis, then the number increase. Then if a person will take to a next level, that is not from Ibn Sayyid, he mentioned on a weekly basis, where just add in, and the person can, and if one also was to add on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis. So the person was to calculate the is in the level of involvement in righteous deeds on a daily basis. Then if the one was to multiply this on a weekly basis, then also on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis, then the numbers start to grow. So show the Muslim that he always kind of somewhat see himself being able to do righteous deeds, and each day that he is given, then there's an opportunity to the person to do good and to make his and to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they mentioned that this hadith is a form of like encouragement from the first sentence, an encouragement regarding the person try to involve himself in doing of righteous deeds and also appreciating what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have given us regarding our limbs. And that also it shows regarding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala greatness regarding, if we were to look how we are created, then it shows regarding concerning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's greatness. That He has created al-insan bi-ahsani taqweem, so mankind is created in his best, showed and in his best manner, regarding that how we are structured and how each of the limbs are in their place, according to what is suitable for mankind. Just as the animal, they are created in a way which is suitable for them. So everything, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created an image that is suited to them. So everything is created in their own image, suited to them. So mankind also been given an image. Mankind given their own image regarding as to what we expect regarding what a person is ordinarily to look like. Regarding the person, in the sense of the person, he has face, and that face consists of eyes, nose, mouth, ears, head. And they mention regarding concerning that of those things that keeping things in their right order and place. So man, by way of male, created in a particular manner, as suited to a male, and also with the organs that is suitable for a male, and likewise a female. And for each to be satisfied with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted them. Each to be satisfied with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have granted them. So that's concerning that. I mentioned that also the person that with this also it shows regarding this ni'mah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is that we are created as we are created, with limbs and joints and the body, that we try to use it in a way which is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and doing things that will get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by doing things of qurbat, things of righteous deeds. So that the purpose of having these limbs, for a person to be involved in doing things of righteous deeds. Then they mention regarding that, and the person kind of somewhat, and also it is for a person to show a shukr. But what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have given us regarding the body that we've been given, and how it function, and how we use it. This also for a person to show is appreciation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the mention of this, what can be taken from this ni'mah of how we are created, is for the person to be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to show a shukr lillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. And a shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is carried out in three ways. Can be categorized into three sections or areas regarding a shukr, as how it is displayed. One, shukr bil qalb, the person having gratitude with his tongue. And this gratitude attributed to the person can somewhat yush'ar, where the person can somewhat is have the awareness. So said shukr bil, we said what, bil qalb, with a heart, that a person that know that having the awareness regarding the person is awareness regarding that the favor Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have granted us and given to us. So the person is aware, is conscious of those bounties, those favors Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have granted us, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to be thanked for this. So we're able to breathe, and we're able to sleep, and to wake, to eat, and also, akrakumullah, that we're able to disperse of the food. Now, if a person is unable to do certain of one of these things, then for that is a problem. The person is unable to sleep properly, then that have an impact on his life. So, the person that, even so we are created that most of the time that we are awake, but we still need to rest and sleep. If we do not sleep for a certain amount of time, then that becomes a problem. That becomes a problem for our body as to how it functions. So just the same thing with food and drink. Now, we don't need to eat all the time, but we need to eat something and drink something. If we don't, then that could be to our destruction. And also the person overly eat, then that could be to one's destruction. So subhanAllah, everything is created in a balanced way. Everything Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put in a balanced way. So the general thing is regarding the person that we have the awareness and the consciousness of these bounties from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we are thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that gratefulness in our hearts, we can somewhat don't see these bounties that we have been given, see it as something from my own acts, from my own efforts. That is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who have aided us for us to carry out these things. So these ni'mah regarding fi qalb, that we go back to praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and showing our gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then second of a shukr bil lisan. A shukr bil lisan. So a shukr with the tongue. So which is the person expressing is gratefulness, is gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala verbally. So with verbal expression. So this is about a person kind of somewhat with expression, what acknowledging is gratefulness by the use of the tongue, by the use of his tongue. And that by the person, al-ishtighal, al-lisan, bi-thana, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is done, gratefulness with the tongue, is by the person uttering his gratefulness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, stating this. So when we eat, our part of this, the fan of Islam, that in certain that we do, then there's a dua, a adhkar that goes with it, before, sometime, and after. So when we eat, alhamdulillah, the person showing his gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the second we should mention is ash-shukr bil lisan. Nam. And what is mentioned, so the person expressing his gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then this is of it. وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. So of the favors of your Lord, then you should make mention of this. So not in a boastful way, but in the person expressing this by is gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not boasting to others. Then the third that they mention, ash-shukr bil jawarih. So the third is ash-shukr bil jawarih, that the person expressing is gratitude with his limbs. expressing one gratitude with one limbs. And I mentioned that regarding that in this way of expressing one gratitude with one limbs, I mentioned that yusakhar al-jawarih, that a person that he carries out, that the person somewhat is manifests its gratitude by obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by manifesting with his limbs his gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by carrying out acts of obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and ijtinab ma nahallahu anhu, and the person avoid those things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have made forbidden upon him. So this is the person by way of forbidden things of ma'asi wal atham, that a person avoid thing which is ma'asi, things of acts of disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and sinful deeds. So the person by way of ashukr bil jawarih is the person manifesting this by way of the person that engrossing himself in doing acts of obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also avoiding those things that are forbidden. Then I mentioned also that shukr darban, that shukr is also of two types: shukr al-wajib wa shukr al-mustahab. Shukr al-wajib wa shukr al-mustahab. So shukr al-wajib, by the person doing what is those things which is wajib upon us, that we fulfill them and carry them out, and that we shun and that we avoid things that are haram. So shukr al-wajib, the shukr al-wajib is for one to do carry out those things that are compulsory upon us, those wajibat, and also the person avoid the muharramat. That's a shukr al-wajib. And as shukr al-mustahab, that is regarding the person is doing things of nawafil, al-za'ida, the person doing things of additional acts upon that which is wajib. Then the author, then the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that it mentioned, the next of those matters regarding now, identify certain things of ma'ruf. So, clarifying certain things of ma'ruf, فقال تعدل بين اثنين صدقة. So the matter, the first of those matters that I mentioned, تعدل, the person acting just between two persons, is sadaqah, is a hasana, ma'ruf. So said sadaqah, that is a hasana, a person doing something which is a hasana of sadaqah, meaning hasana, ma'ruf, wa athab, wa thawab, and the person also is rewarded for this. So they mentioned that al-adl, being just between two, is sadaqah, and I mentioned concerning that concerning two disputing parties, whereby we have two individual or two groups or two state. So of two ithnain, so they mentioned that ta'dil bayna ithnain sadaqa is regarding that dispute, niza. So you have dispute occur between individuals, is one now acting just between them. And that is a form of sadaqah, a form of hasana, good deed. So also it shows from this, as mentioned by of those who have explained, that the word ta'dil, it means either as-sulh, being just by way of as-sulh, by making islah between others, by making rectification between those who have a dispute, or al-hukum, by way of judging between those who have a dispute. So al-adl and ta'dil, in this, what is meant by this, al-adl meaning as-sulh, or by way of al-hukum, between those who dispute between themselves. With this, they have mentioned regarding concerning that a dispute, that dispute does occur and will occur, and it's to those who judge between those who have dispute, for them to be just and fair. So within the Sharia of Islam and in the fiqh of Islam, that even the books of fiqh and the books of Hadith, you have a chapter that is dedicated regarding matters regarding ahkam, that's the ahkam al-shar'iyah, which discuss concerning al-umur, concerning al-hudud wal-qada. So matters regarding judgment and also matters regarding dispute, that these things are covered within the Sharia. And a part of those things that will be discussed in the books of fiqh, even to the extent that you find that even books of the ulama, that of qada, you have books that discuss concerning the adab of qadi. You have just books on that topic, how the qadi is supposed to function, and the shurut al-qadi. So you have books just on this topic, show the importance of this. So it's for the person. So regarding concerning that, adl bayna ithnain, it requires certain things in place. Of those things, so certain requirements. One, the person who can act as a qadi. So for a person to act as a judge between others, then a person must have certain criteria, qualifications. And this is concerning acting as a qadi in an Islamic state is a very noble duty and role, to act as a qadi. But it has requirement. So you show the virtue of qada and adl, that is something which is something which is virtuous for a person to act as a judge, but it requires the person to fulfill certain criteria. So of those criteria the ulama mentioned for a qadi, that one, Islam. So for a qadi, one, Islam, so mean that he's a Muslim. So one who's a kafir shouldn't be a judge between two Muslims. And a Muslim referring back to a qadi kafir. So one, that of the criteria for a qadi within the Sharia, that Islam, Muslim. Second, they mentioned taklif, which is that aqil, baligh, that one as above the age of puberty, so an adult, and also aqil, sound mind. Another of the condition, adala, is the one who's a upright Muslim. So a Muslim who's upright. So a Muslim regarding uprightness means that a person that is known to uphold Islam in a very good way. So a person that is known to uphold Islam in a good way, that is a practicing upright Muslim in his conduct and also in his practice of Islam regarding upholding the Islamic principles and guidelines. Another condition, dhukura, that the person also being dhakar, as to be a male. So a female does not serve as a judge. So dhukura is after the conditions. They mention another condition regarding hurriya, free person. They mention also another condition, al-ijtihad, that a person concerning ijtihad. And I mentioned either ijtihad al-mutlaq or muqayyid, that a person have to be a person who have a high level of Islamic knowledge. So a high standard of Islamic knowledge. Because the judge have to give judgment of ijtihad. So it should be of those who can make past judgment, independent judgment. So it should have a high standard of Islamic training. So that's the qualification of a judge. Like in Jazirat al-Arab, that they have an institute, a college, university, that is called Al-Mahad Al-Ali lil-Qada. So it's like a college, high-level college for judges. So those who want to, so you find that like in Sharia, like in universities, in the study of the Sharia, they break it up in different sections. So you have Sharia department or faculty of Sharia, that it falls into usul al-fiqh. So those who want to study Sharia, but they want to more be a specialist in usul al-fiqh or qawaid al-fiqh, then you have that route. Now, they have another route, another path regarding of those who want to be qada, those who want to go more down the line of being like judges. So you have that path. Then you have the other path of al-fiqh, which is and the part of those who want to study fiqh. Now, so you have those within the faculty of the Sharia, They have those areas. Either person might want to more incline towards qada, so you have that route, or usul al-fiqh or qawaid al-fiqh, regarding that, those principles, you go down that path, or the person wants, we said what? Al-fiqh. So the Sharia can, so then but you have colleges where the person can somewhat then concentrate regarding things that he needs to study and know to be a judge. So even have books in other madhahib, or the madhahib, that those books are more written towards people who, like, it's books in fiqh, but it doesn't cover all aspects of fiqh. It only covers matters that are related to a person being a judge. It only discuss masail that relates to, for the person who wishes to be a judge, then these are the things that you should be aware of, or some of the things that you should be aware of. So we're back on track. We were discussing, right?
The thing.
Shurut al-qadi. So we said that we consider ijtihad. So the person has to be of a certain level of Islamic education and qualification, Islamically. By way of the person have studied fiqh in detail, qawaid al-fiqh and usul al-fiqh, and those things attached to al-ijtihad. Then also they discussed regarding matters concerning an yakuna salim al-hawas. So the person also, he should be free regarding that is certain type of is normal faculties are there. So they discuss that the qadi, is it allowed for a person to act as an qadi if he is so regarding that they mentioned that for him to hear, yes. Him to be able to speak, yes. But the discussion between the ulama, some mentioned that if the faculty, so the faculty of hearing should be there, so he can hear. The faculty of speech, he should be able to speak, meaning the qadi. But now the discussion regarding sight. Does the qadi must be one who can see? You have a discussion between the ulama that those who mentioned that yes, he should be able to, if he's blind, then he cannot stand as a qadi, because he cannot see the witnesses and what's going on. And those who mentioned is not a necessary condition. So the person can stand as a qadi even if he's blind. So you might and that's the one that is being followed, regarding that the qadi being blind can still serve. So a person being blind can still serve as a qadi if he has all the requirement. The other requirement. So if, for example, in contemporary time you find that Sheikh bin Baz, and you find some of the qudat that they are known that have been blind. So you have some of the judges that they are known to be blind. So for the mufti and for the qadi is not a criteria, that necessary criteria that they have to have sight. If they are blind, they can still take that role. So those are in general regarding those criteria. So said that now, Islam, taklif, adala, dhukuriya, that can hear and speak, and
ijtihad.
And ijtihad being of the important ones. So it means that the person does not fulfill those criteria, then he shouldn't serve as a judge. And to serve as a judge without fulfilling all those criteria, especially regarding that, so I said adala, the person not known to be a fasik. So adala, we said upright Muslim person, he is a judge, but he has description of a fasik, then no, he should not serve in that position. So those are the criteria regarding what is required from a qadi. So they mention also regarding a qadi, that of his role of the qadi, that nash al-adl bayn al-nas is things to spread justice between the people, and it requires for the qadi to rule by the sharia. So the qadi, he only rules by the sharia. Then and also isal al-huquq ila ahli, and also for the qadi to ensure that people receive their rights, so that people are giving their due rights. Warad al-madhalim, and also that to put in check those who are wrongdoers. So to put in check those who are wrongdoers. So to ensure that people are giving their due rights and giving justice, and also those who are wrongdoers, that they are put in check. And also for him to ensure that justice is carried out between the people. So the qadi, whether the person who is in front of him, so said we have adab that relates to the qadi. So you have adab, so you have other things that relate to the qadi that he has to be mindful of, so as to not come over bias. And also they mentioned there's thing that is mumtan, that the thing that this is haram for the qadi, that a qadi generally that cannot act as a judge, take that role regarding family members. So he cannot judge between a dispute and ease in his family members. He cannot be that. He cannot be that judge. He cannot judge in matter that relates to his family members or of those who are on the disputing side. And also matter regarding his own self. So if a matter been brought against him, he may be a qualified judge, but he cannot rule on those cases because the accusation is against him. So regarding himself and family members, and also if he's not in a state where he believes that he can give justice, then he should, they say rescind, then he should remove himself. So they mentioned that all cases of there's conflict of interest, then the qadi should not be involved. He should not be involved. So it's like those conflict of interest, matter that relates to the accusation against him or family members, then he should remove himself from, he cannot act in those cases. And I will mention importantly that a qadi must be qualified. Must be qualified. And the qadi, the qadi requirement that you have to be ma'soom. That you understand that so the qadi is not that he is infallible. So he can make mistake in a judgment, but if his mistake is made, so you find that even Muslim countries that they have a system where that if the qadi rules on a matter, then if those involved believe that they can raise the matter and the matter can be reviewed. So to check that the qadi that everything was he went through all the process, but in general concerned that the qadi that as mentioned fulfilling of these criteria. So that's concerning. Then you have al-islah. So islah, the criteria may be less than that of a qadi. So a person acting matters concerning islah, that's less, which is the person trying to rectify, to make islah, where people may have certain dispute. So you have matters regarding concerning the hukum of the qadi, in matters that include that in certain matters regarding al-qadha, and whatever the ruling judgment is given by the qadi, it has to be upheld as a general rule, unless it is discovered that he was wrong, clearly wrong. So the general thing that the qadi, whatever judgment is given, it is to be upheld. It is to be upheld. In some countries also regarding the Qudat, they can somewhat the Qudat, those who are judges, that they don't per se intermingle amongst the people that easily because of their role. So as the friendship, I know you, not know you, doesn't come into play. Because the Qadim said no, that you may find someone that he knows that may sit in front of him, but it's for him to rule according to Sharia. So not per se to so is to still be fair and just towards those that are in front of him. So essentially, so you have like adab that he has to uphold. So to come over fair and just, then there's certain structure that he's supposed to follow, even when the disputing sides are in front of him. So general concern that he shows regarding so that's concerning, and they mention that having judged among the Muslims is wajib, fard kifaya. So having judged amongst the Muslims is fard kifaya. So not everyone, not all talib will be a judge, but we must have some judge amongst us. So it's fard kifaya that there must be judges, enough judges amongst the Muslim so as to rule in these cases of dispute between the Muslim. Then they mention after of those things that is mentioned next regarding concerning that matter mentioned تعين رجل في دابة تحمله عليها أو ترفع له عليه متاعه. Then it mentioned also of those things that of those things of sadaqah, mean concerning things of good deeds, where the person is rewarded for this. Nam, that and I mentioned regarding concerning al-qada is going to somewhat to keep some form of justice, keep things to all, to make sure that people that to keep things, to keep some form of justice amongst the people. So a system of having a way of how to rectify dispute amongst the people. So every society should have a system of how to rectify dispute. So the qadi, he serve that role. Then I mentioned that the second of those things, tu'in ar-rajul fi dabati, is assisting a person regarding is bahir, is to mount on his ride. So they mentioned that a person assisting, which is, it shows regarding ta'awun bain al-muslimin, that a Muslim, that is one who assists others. So that person assisting other, that applied to a Muslim or a non-Muslim. So this assisting others, this applied between Muslims and even non-Muslim. So a Muslim is one who's helpful towards others and considerate towards others. So in that case, if those who need assistance regarding a person riding on his mount, or a person to carry the person load or his luggage, then the Muslim assist in those areas, assist in those things. So show that the Muslim, a person who he assists, we mentioned that of the bab of ta'awun al-bir wa taqwa. So the Muslim that now is one who tries to work with others on things which is of good and things of taqwa. So they mentioned regarding concerns also of this, the person assisting a person with his mount, of the person going on to his ride. In today's concern, a person also may assist the person that you may help the person by giving him a ride. So in that case, so if to help him from one place to another, or to get onto his mount, also assisting the person by way of from one place to another, that also you give him a ride. So the person might have, regarding his car, his vehicle, or mode of transport, that assisting a person in that area, that also this falls into this. And also assisting people with load that may be heavy, that they cannot carry, that is also something of sadaqah, a form of sadaqah. So being helpful and considerate towards others, then this is the point that is being raised in this sentence. Then I mention of those things regarding of sadaqah, wa kalima at-tayyibatu sadaqah. So al-kalimatu tayyibah, which is, they mention that kind words or good words, sadaqah, is also said to be a good deed. So they mention regarding concerns of the person, this is emphasized regarding the Muslim mindful of his speech. And a Muslim try to be of those that when they speak well, or they speak something which is of benefit and good. So kalimatu tayyibah, that of the ulama they mention it's of two types, can fall into two ways. Naw'an, al-kalima at-tayyibah fi haqqillah. So good speech for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is by way of ibadat al-qawliya. Ibadat al-qawliya, or and of those regarding that known concerning ibadat al-qawliya by at-tasbih, by al-adhkar, by way of qira'atul Quran. So these are kalimatul tayyib that are of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Second, al-kalima at-tayyibah fi haqq an-nas wal makhluq. So good words, kind words towards others or for the creation by way of their mention, so that in this way it is displayed by the person, but ilqa as-salam, giving others salam, So good words is giving salam. And that salam could be a salam between a Muslim or a person just being greeting others in the way that they would ordinarily greet each other. So the person being greeting others, then this also fall into this by way of words. Also, ta'lim an-nas fall into this. And nasiha wa irshad, the person giving others nasiha, advice, or directing people towards good. So all of this is fall into this. So this all is considered to be or qawl as-sidq, the person that the person being truthful in speech. All of this is, as mentioned, al-kalima at-tayyiba, regarding how the people deal between themselves. So they mentioned that of this, it shows regarding that the opposite is also, the person should avoid the opposite. One should avoid the opposite. So the opposite of kalimatul tayyiba, they mention at-tayyib khabitha. So kalimatul khabitha, the person saying words that are, 18 words, or indecent words, things that are not proper, or bad words. So this can be the person that cursing others, abusing others verbally, slander. So these will be opposite what is expected from the Muslim. It will be opposite what is expected from the Muslim. So the person always try to be of those who are saying kind, good words, and not saying evil words. So it overall being mindful regarding one tongue. Being mindful regarding one's tongue. They mention also kalimat al-tayyib ad-dawa ila Allah, ad-dawa ila Allah. Also of kalimat al-tayyib ad-dawa ila Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ala manhaj an-nabuwah. So ad-dawa to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the way of the anbiya, the correct way. أي في حق الخلق وحق الله. الدعوة على منهج الأنبياء في حق المخلوق. So overall regarding that I mentioned al-kalimat al-tayyib, ad-dawa ila at-tib al-kalam, that a person that he says good words, wal-istiqama al-lisan, and for a person that to have his speech is upright with al-haq, according to the Sharia, wal-adl, and justice, and being just was sawab, and being on point. So that's what's got mentioned as al-kalimat al-tayyib, that a person that his speech, good words, and also is upright with the truth, stand by the truth, in being fair and just and on point in the thing that he says. Then I mention, as for the next point, I mention وَكُلِّ خُطْوَةٍ تَخْطُوهَا إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ صَدَقَةً. Then the next thing I mentioned that every step that one take to salat, sadaqah. So every khutwa, yani footstep that one take, then towards the salat is a form of sadaqah hasana. So they mentioned here regarding concerning that this khutwa, the person journey from where he's at to the masjid, regardless of whether that journey is a long distance or a short distance, then all of this the person's rewarded. So each accordingly. So the short distance in short, he gets rewarded accordingly. If it's a long distance, rewarded accordingly. So the person is rewarding for each step his journey towards the masjid. So it shows regarding that. So I mentioned that this is their wasila and the ghaya. So walking to the masjid is the wasila, it's the means. And the ghaya, the person trying to achieve, is the salah. So the ghaya is the salah. So the salat is the main aim, but to get to the salat, also the person is rewarded for the wasa'il, the means that is used to achieve the objective, which is salah. So the person rewarded all through this. So as the Imam mentioned, the person regarding concerning these matters, that each carry their own separate reward. The salat, its own separate reward. Even all are attached. So salat is own separate reward. Going to the masjid its own separate reward. Preparing for the salat of wudu is also mentioned that for a person kind of somewhat to always be mindful to see all these acts separate and concentrate on each of them and see each of them as a separate act on its own, even though they are connected. So the person can somewhat to understand and to be conscious that when he makes wudu for the salat, that's a reward. The person walking to the masjid, he had himself prepared, walking to the masjid, that's his own reward. Praying the salat is his own reward. Even though all are connected, all are connected. So they mention ila salah, sadaqah. So this ila salah, sadaqah, as-salat, al-ma'rifah huna. They mention as-salah, bil-alif wal-lam. That is it, yahtamil, it could possibly mean as-salat, that jinsu salat, any salah. A person who goes to the masjid for any salah, who does this and go for the masjid to pray any salat, is rewarded for any salah. With a nafila, so it could be nafila or farida. Or what is intended, or yahtamil, that what is intended by ila salah, as-salatul jama'ah, as-salatul farida. So the person that going to the masjid, that regarding salat in general, or what is intended is salat al-farida. Salat al-farida, compulsory salat. So yahtamil, also it will show if it's salatul that the virtue of salat, meaning concerning also salat al-masjid. So the place will be the masjid. So also showing the place of the place of salat is the masjid, which is known. So the excellence of going to the masjid and praying in the jama'ah, praying in the congregation, that the person making this is to salat al-farida, to pray salat al-jama'ah. Pray salat al-jama'ah. So this shows the importance of praying in the masjid and making those steps to pray in the masjid. So from this dimension regarding concerning that then of those who mentioned regarding concern that note that it is mentioned regarding going to the masjid with a person going, the reward is person going and returning. So the reward going to the masjid and returning back to his home is rewarded. Then I mentioned also that also will be included in this, and said be included that regarding the person going to the masjid regarding other acts of ibadah. So the person, that journey that a person take to go for Hajj, the journey that going to Hajj, then also that's rewarded. Because the person fulfilling an act of ibadah. The person going to perform al-ittikaf, that journey to go to that masjid to perform ittikaf. So the person who takes any journey to do an act of ibadah, then also the person is rewarded for this. The person is rewarded for this. So those are what is that I mentioned, to meet al-adha and al-tariq sadaqah. And also of those things that are considered to be a form of good deed is the person removing something which is harmful from the pathway. So something which is dangerous, harmful from the pathway that shouldn't be there, removing it. So something that is in the pathway that should not be there to be removed. That could be harmful to others. And that harm could be by something, looking at something that is not befitting to look at, or to leave something that's not the place for it to be, or an odor in the pathway that is there, that is affecting the people. So anything which is harmful by way of seeing something that is left, physically left there, placed there, a smell, a sound, all of these fall into this. So you have noise pollution or noise disturbance of others, leaving things in the pathway that shouldn't be there. So all of this fall under this. So anything which is adha, that's considered to be a form of adha, harm, that is not proper to be there, then to be removed, and each accordingly. So the ulama mentioned that if that's concerning that removing something, so they mentioned that the person that I mentioned that it showed that a Muslim, this hadith, it shows regarding an-nidhafa or nadhafa, that a Muslim being, that regarding concern a Muslim being one who's a clean, tidy person, whether indoors regarding his own personal tidiness and cleanliness and hygiene, or that of his surroundings. So we're not going to go on the masjid, regarding there's special hadith that are particular about the cleanliness and tidiness of the masjid. But also in the general public sphere, also this hadith is regarding the general public areas. So it's regarding general public areas for them to be kept clean and things that are harmful to be removed. So they mention that it shows that the Muslim in his environment, that not one who litters, leaves things place that they shouldn't. That the Muslim should be opposite this. So they mentioned that you find that of somewhere explained in the book, they mention on Arba'in, they mention, if you go to land, they say the West. That this matter regarding general cleanliness in the community, in the society, that they put a lot of emphasis on this. That's the case in England, to some degree. But some compared to some Muslim country, that as if it doesn't exist in some places. So you go to that Muslim country and the people garbage, they just sort through the windows. Then that's not befitting.
They do that here. They do that here.
Yeah, they do it here.
Yeah.
But that instead of the thing in some of the Muslim country might go that no one clean it later. You don't have people who that's their job to clean the streets. That is just left there, and everyone just pile upon it. And so they think, but yes, you have in even non-Muslim country, in these countries does done, but you might find that they might have things in place that a person could be punished for it. So there's something in place regarding that you could be punished, you could be fined for this. But instead of Muslim country, there's nothing in place. You do as you wish. But Islam, the shahid that Islam requests the Muslim to be one who's conscious of his environment and keeping his surrounding clean. But sometimes we may become somewhat relaxed on this matter. We become negligent on this matter. So overall hadith shows regarding that of these matters that is Muslim, that one should be mindful of these things and try to fulfill these things each accordingly. So of these things that I mentioned, there are some of these things that I mentioned regarding these good deeds that are for a particular group of people, not everyone. Regarding concerning al-adl bayn al-nas, that's for some people, not everyone. And also these things that for a person regarding if one in something in Islam that requires that a person have to have certain qualifications. Certain things for it to be carried out, it requires one to have some qualification. If you don't have that qualification, then the burden is lifted off you. And don't think you have to force yourself to do that thing. Because you're not required. Because you do not fulfill the criteria. So don't try to impose yourself and others to fulfill that thing that you're not required. Because you're not qualified. So the role concerning being a judge, it requires qualification. If a person tries to judge between others and he's not qualified, then he has done wrong from the start. Because he's taken on a role that he's not qualified, so he's not required to fulfill it. So whether someone fulfill it or not, at least you know it's not on me. Whether it is carried out or not, but each person knows it is something that I'm required to come forward, and in some case, a person may come forward if he's qualified. So the person who is trained, qualified of the training as a judge, and there's no judge, then it becomes wajib, fardun ayn upon him to come forward, because he's qualified. If no one is qualified, then it is removed from them. So something I find that things are done where people believe that I have to put myself forward because it's not being done. So something I find that some people, they cannot justify putting themselves forward. And most of the time a person will put themselves forward rather than say, okay, in this case, I know I'm not qualified. I don't see if someone maybe more better qualified or equal qualified, non-qualified as I am. So someone equally non-qualified as I am, put him forward. But the person believes that I don't see no one do it, so I'm going to do it. But he's not qualified. So in the long run, he just creates more problem. In the long run, he creates more problem. Because he's not qualified. And that role requires someone who's qualified. It requires someone who's qualified. And at times, qualification is essential in some things. Qualification is a must. But also experience. So, for example, as judges in some countries, that they have a person acting as a senior judge, he would like shadow a junior judge, will shadow a senior judge. So for him to learn the experience. So at times, a judge, when he's a newly qualified judge, he will have to shadow other experienced judge so he can learn, as they say, learn the ropes and learn the skill of the trade. So yes, you have the qualification, but also he has to learn the skill of that field, get some experience. So he would shadow, be a junior to a senior judge, and until he's then ready to act and gradually take on his own cases until he's left on his own when he's fully qualified. So at times certain jobs or certain things, they require this. That a person is important, that a person that at times you find a person, he doesn't have the knowledge, but he say he have the experience. He doesn't have the knowledge of that thing, and the knowledge is crucial. If you have a millionaire experience, you still will make a lot of errors because you do not have the academic qualification. And in certain fields, a person will never, if a person may read all the books in medicine, but is not certified, he cannot what? Practice medicine. You cannot go in a hospital, in a surgery or clinic and say, I have read all the books in medicine that you, the qualified doctor, have read. The fact that you have that certificate, you will not be allowed to do anything that in that hospital. So something you have to have, not just the qualification that is recognized. You have to have a qualification that is recognized. As I said, I was self-taught, or a person said, I went to university, that courses 7 years, but he did 5 years or 6 years. By the end, he didn't graduate with a qualification. He cannot serve as a doctor. So, but he did what? 5 years training, 6 years, but he missed 1 year, or he went to the 7 year but didn't get a qualification. He didn't get a certificate. He didn't start the exams. He cannot what? He cannot practice. Now, so some things it requires the person have to have that qualification. It is after it's where everything starts with it, and then a person learn the experience. But a person have to have the academic or that qualification from a certified bona fide institution or from some recognized means for him to be able to can practice that particular thing. So instead with Islam, at times we become negligent. So that any person will not allow a doctor to do anything on him unless he's qualified. Now, and most of the time the doctor we go to, because we will ask someone, you know, of this doctor, and we ask for recommendations before even go to the doctor. Who knows this person? What's your experience with this doctor? We'll ask. But we'll not go to a doctor unless the person is qualified. But in Islam, concerns that scholarship regarding Islamic knowledge will supersede all of this regarding the person's akhirah. So things of medicine, the person being ill, eventually will die, inshallah. So the doctors, he just keep you going far within his reach. There's certain that he cannot cure. There's certain that the doctor cannot cure. But we're very meticulous about going to a doctor and who we choose. But with Islam matter regard that's concerned things of the dunya. With things of the akhirah is a different approach. It's a different approach. We go to anyone who claim to be a da'i or famous in Islamic, involved in dawah. Whether he's qualified or not qualified, that's not important. What is important? How famous he is, how eloquent he is. That becomes the criteria. Does he give a khutbah? He give a one or two khutbah, mashallah. Then he can give khutbah everywhere. And fair and say, so that's the thing that we have to be mindful of. So a person says, no, I studied a book and I studied Thalatha Usul from beginning to end, mashallah. But it doesn't make you qualified to teach. You understand? Studying Thalatha Usul. Like for example, we mentioned Adab Mashir al-Salat. Shaykh Muhammad Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah has a book called Adab Mashir al-Salat. And the mannerism of going to the Salat. So in that book, he discussed some masail that relates to fiqh of going to Salat and about Salat and some other matters. But it's not a complete book in fiqh. With me? So that's a book for like the beginners. We said it discussed some masail of fiqh, adab al-salat, going to Salat, matters regarding Salat, some matters regarding other ahkam, but it's not a complete book in fiqh. A person might study that book, but if you know that that book, it only covers about, for example, that's that book, it covers Salat, Siyam, and Zakat. That's all you have studied. If you say that person, so that person hasn't studied many other things. So he's not properly qualified to teach everything. That person, so for instance, that you might find that a person who study Thalatha Usul, Qawaid al-Arba, Kashf Shubahat. That's just what they do in primary school. That's what they do in Muslim country. That's primary school level education. In the West, the person will boast that I've studied Thalatha Usul, wa Qawaid al-Arba, wa Kashf Shubahat. Will boast if a person has studied that, he believes he's qualified. So all those primary kids, they're qualified to teach for us. So said that is a person understanding how to measure things properly. So it's not a confusion among certain people who are said to be the du'at. The confusion comes by people who enter into ilm who don't have knowledge. That's the confusion. When you find the people who are not qualified enter into things that they are not skilled in and have mastered and have also the adab of that, then that's where everything goes haywire, go pear-shaped. Because they do not have the knowledge, nor do they have the conduct of the people of that field. They don't know the rules of that field. And that's regarding knowledge and anything else. So it's not of the problem that we have to be mindful of. You understand? That even a person might come from overseas and say that it's a sheikh. And the criteria for us is that he speaks Arabic, so he's a sheikh. And from a Muslim country, so he's a sheikh. He can give fatwa. That everyone who comes from a Muslim country that is trained enough to give fatwa. Not everyone. Because yes, he's not. So we see that the fact that he's an Arab, he wears the gutra and the thawb, mashallah, he's a sheikh. In his country, he's a common person. So you might find a person that other thing to be mindful of also, that you find that some of the shabab, they're in the Arab countries, but they know English very well, maybe better than some of us. And then they start to give da'wah. But they are not known to have studied and said their level of Salafiyah or Sunni is just recent. Just a few years ago, they started to actually practice. But because they know English, and they start to sit in a few lessons with the Mashaykh, then they see that themselves that they believe that they are qualified to teach the people in the West. So don't be fooled by this. And the person might say, no, I refer back to my sheikh. But your sheikh also, does he know? You understand? He said, my sheikh gave me a, but your sheikh doesn't understand we, the West, as we know the people in our country, that you are not more qualified than anyone else. So I said, not to be deceived by these things. So a person maybe in an Arab country may come to us, you know Arabic, he's Arab. It doesn't mean that he's a mufti and an high-level sheikh, where everyone become scholars. The scholars are coming. He's one of the talabatul ilm or da'i. But he's not, as we say, ulama, he's not from that bracket. And most of those who come to visit the West, they're not, the word ulama and alim, as ulama, is not in that category. They're not. Most of those who come, with respect, they're not in the category to say that they're from the ulama. They're not. That's a reality. But we have some, but in the West, we like to grandize things. Why? Again, it brings people to Omar, who said the Sheikh, mashallah, he's Sheikh, Allah madarda. Because it brings number, and the people think, as you know, he's super qualified, when we know he's not. And also, again, we said our own people, that many of them said, no, their level of what they have learned also is basic level. Basic level. Basic level in the sense that you shouldn't be teaching reality. If you do so, I like a few people, not to be done publicly. If you have done Salat al-Usul, Qawaid al-Arba, Arba'in, and Nawawi, I'm not sure what in fiqh would be, at most would not cover a complete book in fiqh. Made over Sibat al-Salat, and Nabi by Sheikh Albani rahimahullah, good book. If you study this with what you studied, you should not be teaching people in public and broadcasting to the dunya. You should not. And you should fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, person, that those who does so, you should not. Because you're deceiving the people. That level of qualification, in reality, is nothing. It's something, but nothing for you to be teaching the entire dunya. And going to the masajid and giving lectures and teaching. You shouldn't. So I said that some things require qualification, but for us to know what are those criteria. And at times we're being misled by people who are not telling us the reality of the situation, and also not telling us their own reality. Where at the end, I have to know where things stop for me. I have to know, like, this person I speaking, I have to know where things stop. We said, when to the cutoff point for me. And I cannot exceed that. Now, so each person will know their cutoff point and stay within their boundaries. But said, so that's concerning those matters. So that in something does require qualification, is knowing those qualifications. We know what are those criteria that should be in place regarding al-ilm and anything else. وبالله so that inshallah ta'ala will end. وبالله ta'ala tawfiq وهذا السبيل والآخر والحمد لله العالمين.
Can only those who went to Islamic institution teach knowledge, or can those who go to like the traditional on the schools can they teach knowledge?
So is it being still broadcast? Because I turn off my thing. Turn it back on. Okay, for this question, so there's a question that asked regarding that: is it teaching only restricted to those who have studied in an institution, or go beyond those who have studied with the mashayikh in the traditional way? So that qualification is not restricted to a university, a person being a graduate from university. Now, so you have those who have graduated. So you find those who have graduated from university or attend university, they're on different levels. Those who have 10, and they graduated, and it goes back to that person, to what extent he benefited from his studies. So a person might have gone through the study program and ended the program and graduated with a degree. But that person themselves, they are not, we use the word, they're not a fully well-grounded student. And you can see sometimes, so the ones that I've seen, you can see it is evident that person, even though he may have studied, graduated, but he is not a well-grounded student. It's evident. So it goes back to how much that person actually benefit, but through the proper channel, which is university. Now, like the person we study with Mashaykh. He's not study with Mashaykh. And university have its own rules. He understands, so the person still study with Mashaykh. That is one method, not the only method. That's a method, but also it goes back to the talib. Go back to the talib. A person graduate from university and he come back here, and if you see him, you think you wouldn't know that he's Muslim. You wouldn't know that he's Muslim. You have one who have graduated. And he's back. If you pass him, you wouldn't know he's a Muslim. So go back to, yes, we said that's the wasila. The university is just a means, one of the means. It's not something which is new. It existed long before. Like, for example, Al-Azhar as a university academic, and other exists. So that system has been in place for a long time amongst the Muslim, but also a traditional method, which is a person going to the masajid. Then also that's a method. With that method, though, the person should have something, they said ijaza, from his sheikh regarding what he studied and what he has learned from his sheikh. The person might, so that person, to prove that he did sit with the sheikh and learn something, what you learn from the sheikh. What kind of ijaza? What's ijaza, they say in English? Certification from the sheikh, or approval from the sheikh, to say what you studied with him. Because the person might go and sit with the sheikh, and he sits with him for 2 weeks. So it's that traditional pros also have his system in place. They discuss regarding sitting with the sheikh for the person to be properly grounded. How long does it take? And what does the person need to study? So how much years, not months, how many years the person need to sit with the sheikh or shuyukh for him to be considered to be fully grounded. So I said that university would be 4 years studying every area, every different topics. Sit with the sheikh, they require, they said, at least 5 years. To sit with the sheikh, to be well grounded in all the areas. Then also 5 years, 4 years is the minimum. 4 years, 5 years, but 5 years upward, the minimum. For the person to be properly grounded. Sit with the sheikh at times in the masajid that certain sciences may not be discussed in depth. With me? So sometimes it's in the masajid that, for example, like ilm al-hadith. I can say ilm al-hadith. That ilm al-hadith, that they'll do shurul Sahih Bukhari, I explain Sahih Bukhari and other books of Sunnah. So shuru of Kutub Sunnah, or books of Sunnah. And go into those books of Bukhari Muslim. That's not many who does this. Not many who actually does actual Sahih Bukhari Muslim full. Not many. That's the minority. Few. Now they do Muqtasarat. The main books will be in Hadith, will be Bulugh al-Maram, Umdat al-Ahkam, and the likes. So those won't be studied, and those are studied many places. But then you have other aspects regarding Ilm al-Hadith, regarding al-Mustalah, which will be Baykhuniya, or whatever that they may study. But you have another aspect of Ilm al-Hadith that goes into the Tatbiq, which is, so you have the theory, just give it a qawaid, but then the real Ilm al-Hadith that a person also need is regarding concern that's an aspect that is not taught. That aspect is not taught. Only place that maybe be taught by in homes of some mashaykh who are special in hadith, or in university. Ilm al-Takhrij. But you might get it online now, because you have online like university, like Ilm al-Takhrij. It's not taught in masajid like that. Because of the complex matter regarding those science, Ilm al-Takhrij, Ilm al-Ruwat, al-Jar al-Ta'dil. It was not taught like that in masajid. They teach you generally al-Ilm al-Mustalah, and that covers everything, but some things need to be taught separately. You mainly get those either by mashaykh who specialize in Ilm al-Hadith, and they do it with their special students, or in university, who deal with a very small amount of people. So certain things, one day we'll discuss that inshallah ta'ala, a detail regarding those matters.
I just wanted to ask you a question. There's some people who say, there are real scholars in Africa or in Asia. How would you go about advising them that there are scholars out there who are able to teach the Quran?
No, but
Take such influence over the ones in the Middle East, which is understandable. But how would you go about advising that there are scholars that teach the Quran?
now when a person negates something, Adam al-ilm, laysa ilm Adam. A person says no, that Adam al-ilm, not knowing something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So not knowing, or you not knowing, it doesn't mean that thing doesn't exist. So I said now of the thing that you said. So sometimes that blatant statement regarding that there's no scholars in this place and that place, then those statements are wrong. Okay, I said no, that and that's because that person is not familiar with what goes on in other countries, somewhat restricted to a particular region, and maybe have a blind side on other region. So you find that ulama in Hind are there, and scholars of Hadith and of the Sunnah are in Hind and Pakistan and those places. They're there. Now, because of language barrier of time, but you have said that if you ask the Mashaykh from the Tullah from that region, they will tell you who they are. Now, who are those Mashaykh? And other places like in Africa and other places, that for example in Ethiopia, that the Mufti of Ethiopia, like for example Sheikh Adam Ethiopia, where is he from? And that family, they're from Ethiopia. Now, but in Ilm al-Hadith, understand, he's one of the top, he's died rahimullah, so is a representative of high level. His father was the Mufti before him of Ethiopia. The Mufti today of Ethiopia will understand also Salafi, and also you understand a person of great knowledge. Ahmad al-Ansari from Africa, his cousin Ismail al-Ansari. They said before they reached said in their biography they discussed concerning before they reached the Arab country, they already read Sahih Bukhari how many times? You understand? Before they reach how many books that they have read. So I said, no. So I said, sometime a person might speak. I said, when a person kind of someone said, a person must be very mindful of the things that they say at times. And I said, from my knowledge, the scholars that I know is such. But don't kind of somewhat put a blanket statement regarding scholars are only in certain place. Then that's unjust. That's an unfair, unjust statement. So that even now that I follow certain Mashaykh from Hind who have books that they do in Arabic. And I get those, you understand? So, and the work that they do, for example, that so but you have those works from those scholars who are alive in those different fields. So they do exist. They do exist. It's just that maybe we're not familiar with them, but it doesn't mean they don't exist. But that those persons have to be mindful of the thing that they say. Just be more mindful of what they say. With that, inshallah ta'ala, we'll end your question without it being recorded.